Alright, just getting everything set up here. I've got to open up some windows, I've got to pull up some hosting, and then we'll get started on this. Okay, sorry everybody. I had a bunch of windows and everything else to get set up and make sure everything was running, servers and everything else. But I think we're ready to go here. So what the goal is, what I want to do is I've got my newly reworked site that I've been working on for about 9 months now, my own personal site. And so I've got this running here on Gatsby, and I fired up Gatsby doing Gatsby dev, Gatsby develop to fire up the local host. So I'm running it on my local host here against port 8000. One of the great things about this is, with Gatsby being a static site generated and everything else, I can run it locally and see exactly how it's going to look before I push it to production. The production version of this, by the way, is hosted on Netlify. I don't, I'm just a user. Not an affiliate or anything like that, but I absolutely love Netlify, especially for hosting Gatsby sites and that, because they pull them. I push to my repo, and then it pulls from the repo and builds the site and pushes it to production for me. So if you're thinking about doing anything like that, I thoroughly recommend checking them out. Now, the goal here, like I say, is this is my new site, but it doesn't have a dark mode. Now, if I go to a site that I've already implemented dark mode on, this is another one of my websites, compileswift.com. It's all about Swift development, iOS development, and that kind of thing. Now, right now, my machine, I'm on Mac OS here, and it's in the sort of the normal in light mode, if you want to call it that. And so the browser picks up on that and gives me this light mode version, okay, as you can see like here. Now, if I switch my machine to the dark mode for Mac OS, I'm on Catalina here, you can see that the website automatically picks this up and changes as well using what we have here. And this media identifier here in some CSS, right? So if it sees that it's in dark mode, what happens is all these rules that I've got here, they will overrule the pre-existing ones and say, okay, it's in dark mode, so switch to this instead of showing the normal. So that's the goal for doing it here on this website, because as you can see, right now it doesn't change. So let's start this up. Like I say, here's the light mode version. My machine is now in dark mode, so I can see as this changes as I'm working on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this media identifier here, and I'm going to see if we can shortcut some of this stuff. So I don't need that, so I'll close that. This is the SASS file. I'm using SASS on this particular, on peterwitham.net website here. And so it's got a bunch of styles. There's also a bunch of imports. We're going to have to look at these one by one as we work through. But what we're going to do is the very first thing, we're going to go to the bottom here, and we're just going to say, okay, so let's just go ahead and add a dark mode preference. Now, when I do that and save it, things are going to go a bit weird because actually, I forgot. This is SASS, not less. So, actually, hang on, sorry. Let's take that out of there. Bring it back. I'm going to have to convert that to SASS first of all. We're doing this live, so you're going to see everything as I do it, including all the screw-ups. Now, I'm wondering, actually, if that's on, let's have a quick look here, because you know what? Now that I think about it, I haven't researched this. Let me have a quick look up here. Hang on one second. See if I can find some information for us. I'm looking for a media query. This might be the one. Hang on, let me bring it over to the screen. So I'm looking for a media query in SASS and how you set that up. Not interested in variables and all that, blah, 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 blah. Variable queries. I'm looking for the media. All right, let's have a look. I wonder if there's a way I can combine these and keep it simple. So what is this package that they're talking about here? Okay, I'm not going to do that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try. Let's try it in line like they suggest. Don't really want to do it this way, but we'll try it. Hang on. See, there is an immediate detector there that works. Oh, I'm so... I know why. I'm so embarrassed. Okay, because on SASS, I don't need those. Let's have a look. Oh, come on, keyboard. It can't possibly be because that's after that, right? Right. I didn't think that had anything to do with it. Let's have a look. How do I create a dark mode in SASS? Come on. It's got to be as simple as it is in CSS, surely. It can't be stupidly hard compared to CSS to do it in SASS. Really? I gotta put a bunch of logic and stuff? No way, that's not right. I wonder if there's a way. I'm not gonna screw with that. There's gotta be a better way. Hold on, let me look at my layout here where that gets imported. Can't believe it's that hard to implement, surely. Alright, well let's try this. I'm not going to screw around with a whole bunch of logic just for no reason. So we'll try a quick hack and see if this works. That's going to break because that one doesn't exist. That's fine. I'm now going to create that. Okay. Let's just test this out. I don't think that's going to do anything. Let's make it something horrible. All right, okay, that's the way we're going to do this. I'm not going to write it in SASS. I'm going to just do it in straight CSS for the dark mode theme. Screw that. I'm not writing any kind of logic or anything. I shouldn't have to. Okay. That's not terrible straight off the bat. So it's not great either. You can see here where I've gone in, and when I originally set this up, I used some SVGs so that I don't have to worry about background colors showing through and the graphics here pick everything up. The interesting thing is, let's have a look at some posts here. Okay, so we've got those to deal with. Let's have a look at something with images. Videos load fine. Okay, hang on. Let's find something with an image. We'll restart Gatsby here. Gotta wait for it to finish running. Okay. Let's see. I think this one's got an image. Okay, that's where, I mean, the images are going to be what they want to be. I just want to make sure they don't have any sort of kind of horrible nastiness around them. Let's see, what else do we have? It's got an image. Yeah, those ones, this one up here, I know this background has a white background, so that's the reason for that. Okay, these aren't terrible. All right, we can work with this. So let's go back here. I don't know that I want to use black though. I mean, black is a little harsh for this. I'm gonna go with, I don't know, maybe an off black. Let's try like maybe well, let's just put something in and try it. It's got to be pretty dark. Now, maybe black isn't so bad. Oh, it does help if you get it right, of course. You know, let's keep the black for now and move on. So let's work through these. Let's go to the contact form quickly. Make sure everything looks okay on there. Yeah, I think what I might want to do here though, actually, as I look at this, I wonder if I shouldn't override the HTML tag as well. Yeah, okay, good. So that'll take care of the nastiness at the bottom. Now, let's start to take a look at some of these, because I also do have these imports here. Now, I don't need to obviously replicate these imports because it's all going to be overridden in this one dark theme file. But that said, there's probably a couple of things that I do need to look at. So, for example, this search box here. If I go over to the file, you can see we've got the white label here. Well, I mean, that's okay. Box shadow, don't really see it, don't really care on dark mode, that's fine too. Actually, I think for now, we're just gonna leave the rest of that alone, because it makes this search box nice and clear and you can see it, and that's kind of a goal of this, is you still want it to be very usable at all screen sizes. If I shrink this down to show you like a, you know, a sort of a phone size, it's all very clear, but just having that black background has really helped out. So I think we'll leave the rest of that alone for now. This keep reading part though, that's kind of bothering me. Let's take a look at the selectors on that. The white text I'm okay with on there. I wonder if I can just basically pull it right out and do it this way. Oops. What am I doing? I may not have the full selector there. You know, actually, as I'm looking at this, I don't necessarily dislike that so much. Yeah, let's take a look at this sidebar stuff going on here, which is this area over here, because obviously I got to deal with some of these. So like the sidebar widget, for example, that's going to have some work done on it. The buy me a coffee link, please feel free to hit the buy me a coffee link and buy me a coffee if you're finding this helpful. But let's start by addressing some of this sidebar widget stuff going on here. So let's go back to our dark mode theme file. Save that, let it compile. Okay, let's make sure everything's still good. Yeah. Thing is with this, I'm not sure what color I want to use yet. I'm wondering, maybe I just try a darker version. Let's start there. Yeah, I don't like that. It's not going to be that color, that's for sure. Let's go into a more pleasant sort of dark brown. Take a look. That's not too bad. And actually it fixes up our buy me a coffee widget here. Still got to do the link. But these blues on the black I'm okay with. You know, obviously we've still got to work with this, the code and layout here on the colors. But let's go back and try a few other posts. Podcast page. Yeah, I've got to fix up the title there. Video page, probably going to be a similar deal. Yeah. Contact, got to do those labels. Yep. Okay, let's go into a post and keep working here. So next up, let's do, I think this is all okay now on the side for now. This link here though is going to be the same as these. Maybe that color does need to be a little darker. It's a little too prominent. It's getting there. Something about it, that color, it's just not right. Maybe I neutralize the tone a little bit. It may be a bit too far. Maybe what we need to do is back the color up into the dark reds just a little more. Keep that themed color going throughout. It's getting there. Saturate it up just a little more. You know, I think that might be the one. At least for now, we'll go with that. I have to deal with these icons here as well, but that's okay. Let's get to looking at these headers here on the posts. So on the post types, I basically have these icons that show in the corner here. You can't see it on this one, unfortunately, but let me switch to one where you can, hopefully. That's interesting. So if I switch back to light mode, okay. Okay, there we go. So see, it's got this Swift logo here, and if I switch to dark mode, okay, that's better. Good. That's what I was worried about. I wasn't seeing the icon at all, and I thought there's got to be something wrong there because I should be seeing the icon at least. So this is actually a good post. It's got a bit of a mix of everything. So let's keep going with that. Let's look at these heading titles here now. So if we go back to our SASS file, close that one out, let's close the sidebar out. On our SASS file, what you're going to see, I can find them here. So we've got an H1. but this one doesn't set the color. Okay, good, right. They're not in that file, that's what I was hoping. Let's inspect this. Actually, I wonder, maybe it's just a simple case of just rewriting all the H1 color tags. Let's make it, let's start with light gray. I don't think it's going to affect those nested ones, but we'll come back to it. Let's open up another tab. Actually, you know what? Before we go any further, I think I want to fix up these tags. These links, sorry. One of the nice things about web browsers these days is you can actually go in here. So I've got these here, right? And then I can actually go in and change some of the properties right here and see how they look. And that's really what I should be doing. See, this one's set to important because I actually overrode it already, and that could be a problem now. Because what's going to happen is, because the red is saying it's important, basically nothing else can override it. But if I do this, it's really not a good plan, because now that I've done this, I've overwritten important with important, but I'm wondering if for dark mode, for this specific mode, that's okay because these colors are not being used. So that might be okay. So let's go ahead and change this color. Okay, let's get that out of the way. So I want to keep the red, but I don't want it to be quite as red, if that makes sense. So in other words, let's just put a color in. Let's get started here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So right now it's like this, and that's obviously, it stands out a little bit too much on the dark mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to bring it down slightly, just tone it down so it's not as bright. I'll show you what I mean here, right? That may actually be too far. Hang on. Let's bring it up to something like that. Okay, so you see how it looks here? Well, if I switch back to the normal, see how it's this bright red? It's a little deceiving because you've got this white background behind it. But now when I switch to the dark mode, it just sort of chills the color off a little, but it keeps it going there. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. The bottom's a bit too bright, but in dark mode, I kind of like the way that's going, right? So I think that's going to be okay. Let's go back over here and take a look at this. Trying to keep track of everything we're working on here so I don't miss something out. Just take a quick drink. All right. Just water, I promise. Okay, let's go back and inspect these tags. Let's first of all, let's find a color that we think is going to work for us. Let's start there. And this color is actually defined. I just saw it and now I've missed it. No, actually it was the background color. Okay. Let's do this. Let's try set the content H1. Again, just going to pick something real obvious as we change it to see what's going on. Okay, because these are actually H2. So, good, we got the one we wanted. Now, before we go any further, though, let's go back and make sure we haven't messed anything else up, which we shouldn't have. Okay, because we're in the content. Okay, good. Time to get rid of that color. And you know what? Let's try using the one from above. I don't dislike that, actually. Yeah. So let's do a similar thing with the H2 tags. Let's just start by taking the same color, putting it in there. I want to differentiate the H2 tags slightly. I think you should always differentiate just slightly between the different layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to desaturate this one a little and just bring it down just a small amount darker, barely noticeable. There we go. It's very subtle. You may not even see it on most screens. And then finally, let's do the H3 tags as well, because I know I've got some of those throughout the site. And for those, I'm going to keep the same color because they're clearly a different font size. So I've still differentiated between my three different levels of titles there. Okay, good. This is looking good. All right, let's move on from there. What should we look at next? Let's go back and look. Okay, good. See, because it's in the content, so it's fixed it up here as well. These are still okay over here. May come back and override those. We'll see. And in fact, just to show, I think I probably should do that now. So I believe this should do it. Sidebar. Whoops, not caps. Sidebar widget. I'm not sure if they're on H3, I think. Let's just make them white. Make sure it changes. Oh. Huh. Peter. Maybe they're not. What are these? They are an H2 tag. I bet they're wrapped in something and I didn't get it. Yeah. Let's see. I think I'm missing a selector here. H2. Oh, there's just too many things on the screen here. Let's just, there we go. Okay. Finally got enough space on the screen. Right, what's going on here? Let's cut off the H2 because I've got it right there. Be way too much stuff going on in there that I don't want. Let's make sure we didn't break anything else. Get back to normal size. Okay, I can live with that. Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. Next thing I'm going to look at is switching up the tags here. Before we do that, I always like to toggle just between the two to make sure that everything is still working as I expected, and that's looking okay. Good. Light mode isn't broken. That's important. Now, these tags down here, I do not remember the selectors for. Tag list on posts. All right. Don't think it's going to be that simple, but we'll try it. And let's change the background color. Let's get rid of this. Go away, inspector. Thank you. And actually, I'm tempted to go with the same background color I've got there and start with that. Yeah, that's not terrible. Well, I'm now going to tweak it because it is a navigation element, whereas this is a static element over here. And I do want to differentiate between the two. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lighten this one up just to show that there's something importantly different about those there. Okay, great. Now, don't want all this, but let's just take those. Let's fix up the text. Let's start by trying white, I think. I think I'm going to leave it like that, at least for now. What's worrying me now, though, is these elements are slightly more prominent than the title, so I may have to come back and look at these colors again after I've lived with it for a little while. But still, you can see here with just a few lines overriding the particular properties that we need to override, things are starting to look an awful lot better. So this is way better than the mode that we had before. So let's just switch back, make sure. Okay, so this was the original light mode. Let's go into a post. All right, let's now go to dark mode. Still got to fix up the code here, but we know that. Everything else is starting to switch out. Okay. This is a good one because it has images. Doesn't look terrible. Okay. I think now we need to start since obviously my website is primarily a technical one, I have lots of code examples and things. So I think now we need to stop and take a look at this code stuff we got going on here. So that exists in this original SASS file is where I have everything set up. These are the overrides basically for highlighting some of the lines of code, but a lot of them too are used by this plugin takes care of it automatically. And I'm in two minds whether to leave the code examples like this where they clearly stand out and you can see the code, or to change them. And I'm really not sure. So I don't know what you guys and girls think, but I'm always tempted to live with it for now and just see how it goes and just sort of visit the site myself on a regular basis for the next couple of days, see how that feels for me. But I don't know, it's not terrible. I mean, I really like being able to see the code clearly, but it's a question of whether it's too distracting for anyone when they come to view it. You know, like for example, if I shrink it down to like a phone size screen, it's still not terrible. I mean, if anything, it really helps a phone size screen still because you can still clearly read it, right? It's a little deceiving because this text looks so small on a big screen compared to a phone, but I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I don't know what you all think, but feel free to weigh in on it, but I don't think it looks too bad myself. The thing that's bothering me now, if I switch to the normal mode, see we've got these black icons here, and if I remember rightly, I did these as SVG files. Let me look. Yeah, these are SVG files. So I should be able to manipulate those. Never done it, so this is going to be a first. I think before we go any further though, I'm going to make a commit. Okay, like so. Now when I do the push, this is what I was saying about why I like using Netlify to host this so well and so much, is if I go over to Netlify, and let's just pull this web browser up a bit bigger here, it's going to have picked up. You can see here, look, it picked up that I've already pushed to the repo, and it's starting to build for me. So it's going to take a minute here. We'll let it do its build, and we'll then come back and take another look at this. So while it's doing that, I'm just going to take a quick break and run and get a bottle of water here. So I will be right back. All right, so it looks like it's still building. What we'll do is hopefully that build's going to succeed. So in the meantime, I'm going to pull up the live site now, not the local one. And actually I'm going to stop. I'm going to go back over here and stop the local version because I don't need that right now. So we'll just get rid of that one. While we're waiting for the build to complete, please feel free to go over to my website and check out all the other videos and all the other content if this kind of thing interests you. Just go to peterwhittam.com. It's going to look slightly different than what you're seeing here because this is the .NET version that's in transition as I'm finishing building it out. But go to peterwhittam.com and you'll find lots of other videos and tutorials and all that kind of stuff, and some podcasts on all this kind of thing, along with other development languages and everything else. And please feel free to follow me on Twitter if you want. I have a couple. You can do @CompileSwift if it's Swift dedicated, or @UIBuzz is the one that I use to promote all of my other, content for, this kind of web development, that kind of thing, and my game streaming and everything else. So if you have any comments, please reach out to me on those. You go to peterwhittam.com/contact, where there's a form you can fill in as well. And if I'm live streaming like I am now, you can always please drop in the chat with any comments, questions, and everything else. Always happy to try and help if I can. The main goal of my reason for streaming all this stuff is not only to help those who, want to get into these kind of things and to, see me make mistakes and realize that, when we put out videos, my normal tutorials and everything else, of course, they're polished and edited and everything else, but absolutely everybody of every skill level makes mistakes, and it's important for everyone, especially beginners, to understand and learn that as well. So, hopefully that's part of what you take away from this, not only watching the live stream and seeing the technical stuff, but the understanding that we all have to screw around with things to get them right sometimes. We can't all remember everything in our head because there's just too much to remember these days. Let's just double check the status on this. It's uploading. That's a good sign. Looks like we passed the build process, so I didn't screw up my code too much. Sometimes in the past I've made mistakes because I've messed up my yarn lock and all the other stuff, and it gets a little confused, but I'm trying to get better at remembering, because on my two different sites that I have, this one and the compileswift.com, I use two different methods, and I really at some point need to unify and bring them together so I don't have to remember. Again, I don't have to remember the two different things, and I can just work with the one process. I love Netlify. It's not costing me anything, and I'd be happy to pay for a subscription, some kind of service when I switch over, because at the moment the reason for me building this site, I should point out, is because I'm originally hosted on a WordPress hosted site, and by that I mean it's a dedicated host, not the WordPress community site. And I don't want to mention the name of the hosting company I use because they've not done anything wrong or anything like that, but performance is just not where it should be, and a lot of that is because of all the processing that has to go in the background. And so that's why I looked at GatsbyJS and switched over to a dedicated system like this, because it is so lightning fast. It's amazing how fast it is compared to some of the other sites. And that's not to diss on WordPress, which is phenomenal, and I still love it, but I just don't need all that processing going on in the background. All right, so we're finished and it's published here. So let's go back over to the live site, peterwhittam.net. My OS is currently in dark mode. I'll reload it. We've got the dark mode coming up. We'll just click on a few things, make sure everything still looks good. But at this point, this is now live for everybody, so you can all go see it too. Here it is. Yep. Let's switch back to normal light mode. We should get the standard site, which we do. Fantastic. So it's not complete. There's still things I need to work on it, some colors to work out and everything else. But I think you'll agree that, for dark mode, it's a darn good start, right? This is literally all the code you see, sorry, not that far. All the code you see here is everything that's doing that switch out to the dark mode. That's all it is, nothing else. So I just love how simple it is to work with this. It's fantastic. And how great it is to work with Gatsby too. So shout out to the Gatsby team as well on this. With that, I think we're pretty much done here for now. So again, thank you for watching. I hope those of you that are watching and those of you that watch the replays get something out of this and start to think about dark mode for your websites, because it is a thing, right? You know, now that mobile devices and operating systems and that have these dark modes, we do need to start to accommodate them. And the difficult thing too with dark modes is you've got to do it and accommodate for trying to do as much as you can accessibility, right? Those with not so great eyesight, or issues with colors, those kind of things. You still got to watch out for all that stuff. It's not a simple case of just switching out, white for black, red for blue, and so on. So, give it a go, play with it. The key to this whole thing, like I say, is this one line here in CSS, which is the media detector for the dark color scheme on your OS, which thankfully most, I could be wrong, even if maybe all browsers now pick up on. And it just makes life so difficult, so easy for us, because otherwise it would be difficult because we have to build out functions and clever little scripts and everything else. And this way we just don't have to do that. So again, thank you everybody. Appreciate your time. I know it's important, but I like to put these out there for you. Again, I do have some premium content over at patreon.com/PWCOM. If you are interested right now, there's just a way for you to say thank you. It's as little as $1 a month, or even just a one-time, whichever way you want to go, just to say thank you for this and all the other content. And with that, I will